At dinner with my parents, my wife screamed, "I hate your family. I want a divorce." I stayed calm, called my lawyer on speaker, and started filing right there while she watched, silent, as he said, "I can have papers ready by Monday." I was halfway through slicing into a ribeye when my wife, Marissa, slammed her glass down so hard the stem snapped clean off. Red wine splashed across the tablecloth like blood. We were sitting at my parents' place in Fort Collins, Colorado, doing our usual Sunday dinner. Nothing fancy, just grilled steaks, potatoes, and my dad rambling about a neighbor who installed a 12-foot Bigfoot statue in his yard. Then out of nowhere, Marissa stood up, chest rising like she was about to scream. My mom froze mid-bite. My dad stopped talking mid-sentence. Everyone looked at her. "I can't take this anymore," she said, voice shaking with this cold, practiced fury. "Your family is suffocating. I hate it here. And honestly, I want a divorce." My fork hit the plate. For a second, I honestly thought I misheard her. Or that she was being dramatic again because she hated my mom's habit of overseasoning everything. But she didn't blink. She doubled down. "You heard me, Evan. I'm done pretending everything's normal. Your mother micromanages every part of our lives. Your father talks to me like I'm his intern. And you always choose them. Every time." My mom looked like someone had slapped her across the face. My dad's jaw clenched, like he was trying not to say something he'd regret. "Maybe we should go home and talk," I started. "No," she cut in. "We're talking about it now. I'm tired. I'm miserable. And I want out." Her voice echoed through the dining room. I swear even the damn fridge went silent. And something in me just snapped into place. Not anger, not heartbreak, just this weird, sudden clarity I hadn't felt in months. "Okay," I said, calm, flat, dead center. She blinked. "What do you mean okay? You want a divorce? Let's start." I pulled out my phone, dialed my attorney, put it on speaker. My mom gasped. My dad sat back in his chair like he'd just witnessed a car crash. "Evan?" My lawyer answered on the second ring. "Yeah, sorry to bother you on a Sunday. I need to file for divorce." She just asked for one. Marissa's face went white. "Evan, stop. Hang up. We're not doing this." "I didn't mean..." My lawyer asked the usual questions. Assets, cars, house, kids, none. He said he could have the paperwork ready by Monday. I thanked him and hung up. The silence afterward felt like a vacuum. Marissa shook her head like she'd fallen into the wrong universe. You actually called him?" she whispered. "You asked for a divorce," I said. "I'm respecting what you want." Her voice cracked. I wasn't serious. I was upset. "You can't just..." "You meant every word," I said. "Let's go home." She didn't move. She just looked around the table like she expected someone to defend her. Neither of my parents did. The car ride home was silent except for her sniffling. She kept darting looks at me like she expected me to break down, apologize, beg. But the truth was hitting me in waves. She'd been building toward this, rehearsing it, planning the blow-up. And for the first time, I could feel something ugly shifting underneath it. Something intentional. We pulled into the driveway. She finally spoke. "Evan, you don't understand. I didn't mean divorce. Not really." I turned to her and said the one sentence that made her freeze. "Then why did you tell my sister earlier this week that you were getting ready to leave me?" Her mouth fell open. She didn't know I knew. I got out of the car before she could say another word. "I guess to understand how we got here, you'd have to know what the last couple years looked like. Because the truth is, this blow-up at my parents' table didn't come out of nowhere. It was like watching a storm hit a house I'd already seen cracking for months. Marissa and I met in Denver 5 years ago. She was sharp, confident, the kind of woman who walked into a room and people automatically adjusted themselves around her. I fell for her hard, fast. She said she loved how steady I was, how I didn't get rattled easily. Back then, that felt like a compliment. Now I know it meant something else, something I should have caught earlier. We got married after a year of dating. Small wedding. Her family didn't have much money. Mine paid for most of it. Her mom made comments even then, little digs about how Evan's family likes control or everything has to be about the Harrisons. I brushed it off as stress. The first real cracks showed up after we bought our house in Fort Collins. My parents helped with the down payment, no strings attached, they said. But Marissa acted like it was a chain around her neck. Anytime my mom stopped by to drop off cookies or help with the garden, Marissa would stiffen up like she was being inspected. And maybe my mom can be involved. She worries. She fusses. She asks a lot of questions. But she's not a villain. She's a retired elementary school teacher whose biggest thrill is rearranging her pantry. She's harmless. But to Marissa, she was intrusive, overbearing, manipulative. I kept asking her why she felt that way. Every time she said something different. One day it was, your mom is judging me. Next day it was, your dad doesn't think I'm good enough. Another day it was, I feel like your family has already decided I'm the outsider. The thing is, none of it was true. My parents adored her. They bragged about her. They defended her when she wasn't around. They treated her better than they treated some of my siblings' partners. But nothing I said ever soothed whatever resentment she was brewing. I noticed the worst of it last fall. She'd come home from work already tense, slam cabinet doors, pick fights over nothing. I'd ask what was wrong. She'd either shut down or snap. She kept saying she felt boxed in, trapped, like she was living someone else's life. I tried to get her to do couples counseling. She refused, said she didn't need a referee, said I needed to finally grow a spine and tell my parents to back off, which didn't even make sense. My parents barely saw us except for Sunday dinners. But here's where things really shifted. She started getting close with my younger sister, Danny. At first I thought it was sweet. Danny's blunt but loyal. Once she bonds with someone, she defends them fiercely. I assumed the two of them hanging out meant things were getting better. Then around Christmas, Danny pulled me aside with this look on her face I'd never seen before. Hey, just so you know, she said quietly, Marissa's been saying some pretty harsh stuff. About you. About Mom and Dad. I didn't want to get in the middle, but it's not good. I asked what she meant, but Danny wouldn't repeat it. Said she didn't want to create a war. Just wanted me to be aware. I shrugged it off at the time. Told myself Danny probably misheard or Marissa was venting on a bad day. But that night in the car after the dinner table explosion, when I mentioned my sister, Marissa's face told me everything. She hadn't expected Danny to tell me. She thought she had both sides wrapped around her finger. And seeing her panic in the driveway that night, it was the first time I realized she wasn't just upset. She was cornered. After the blow-up at my parents' house, the next few days felt like living inside a pressure cooker. Every hour something new cracked open. And every crack made it clearer that Marissa's one emotional moment was actually just the mask slipping. The night after the dinner disaster, she hovered around me like she was afraid I'd disappear if she blinked. She cried. She apologized. She swore she didn't mean it. She begged me to just forget the whole thing. But underneath all that emotion, there was this twitch in her expression. Like she wasn't devastated. She was calculating. The first real escalation came on Tuesday. I'd barely walked into the house from work when she jumped up from the couch like she'd been waiting for the sound of my keys. We need to talk, she said. I think we've done enough talking. She crossed her arms. Then listen. I spoke with Danny today. That surprised me. Danny hadn't mentioned anything to me. And she told me you misunderstood everything. She said she never told you I was planning to leave. I stared at her. She didn't say you were planning to leave. She said you'd been saying things. You confirmed that when you froze in the car. Marissa blinked hard, like she was trying to rewind the universe. I was shocked. You blindsided me. No, I said. You blindsided yourself. That's when her voice hardened. So now your sister has more credibility than your wife? She's never lied to me. Marissa scoffed. Wow, good to know where I stand. And just like that, the apology phase evaporated. She switched into this cold, clipped tone. Like she'd decided she wasn't going to win me back with emotion, so now she was going to win by force. The next morning, She texted me at work. We're not getting divorced. I won't let you blow up our marriage because you're too scared to confront your parents. That pissed me off. Because she wasn't scared, I was scared of 5 more years of this. Scared of twisting myself into knots to keep the peace while she picked apart everything around her. I didn't reply. Then Thursday, my mom called me sounding shaken. Sweetheart, Marissa came by today. I froze. She what? She said she wanted to talk woman to woman. She apologized, but it felt off. What do you mean off? My mom hesitated, which she never does. She said she's worried about you. Said you've been distant for months. That she thinks you might be depressed. She even asked if I'd noticed you withdrawing from people. My whole body tensed. Mom. She's trying to rewrite the narrative. That's what your father said after she left. Then Mom said something that made my stomach drop. She asked if you and Danny had always been close. What? She implied Danny might be a bad influence. Or jealous of her. I'm not sure. That's when it hit me. Marissa wasn't trying to fix anything. She was trying to control the fallout. That night I got home and confronted her. You went to my parents' house? I was apologizing, she snapped, trying to take responsibility. Something you refused to do. And you told them I was depressed? Well, aren't you? You've been emotionally checked out for months. No, I said, voice low. I've been trying. You've been pulling away. She opened her mouth like she was about to deny it, but something, guilt, maybe, flickered in her eyes. For someone who says they want to save the marriage, I said, you've been putting in a lot of effort trying to turn my own family against me. Her mask cracked again. For the first time, she didn't look angry or sad. She looked cornered and furious, like I had just ruined something she'd been carefully setting up. You have no idea what's really going on, she said quietly. Then she walked into the bedroom and slammed the door. The line stuck with me all night. What's really going on? What had she been doing behind the scenes for months? What was she trying to get ahead of? I had no idea then, but I was about to find out. And it was worse than anything I imagined. I found out the truth on a Sunday morning, exactly 1 week after the dinner table detonation. And I swear, even now, I can still feel that cold drop in my stomach from when everything finally clicked. Started with a phone call from Danny. She never calls early, ever. So when my phone buzzed at 7:14 a.m., I already knew something was wrong. Evan, she said, not even bothering with hello. You need to come over. Now. Her voice was tight, scared, but also pissed. Danny doesn't get scared easily. What happened? I asked. Just get here. I threw on clothes, grabbed my keys, and drove the 15 minutes to her apartment like the pavement was on fire. She opened the door before I even knocked. Her hair was a mess. She hadn't slept, and she looked like she'd been pacing for hours. What's going on? I asked. She handed me her phone. Read this. It was a group chat screenshot between her, Marissa, and my cousin Lena. I didn't even know they had a group chat. At first I thought it was just venting. Stuff like, I feel overwhelmed or I need space. But then I scrolled, and my stomach twisted so hard it felt like someone punched me. There it was, clear as day. Marissa. I need him to be the one who ends it. Then I won't look like the villain. Marissa. If he snaps first, his parents will blame him, not me. Marissa. Danny, you said he's been stressed at work, right? That's perfect. Marissa. I just need him to break. Then I can get out without everyone thinking I'm abandoning him. I felt my fingertips go numb. It didn't stop. Marissa. And if he starts acting unstable around them, maybe his mom will finally back off. Marissa. Trust me. This is the cleanest way. I just need to push him until he explodes. The worst one, the one that made me sit down because my knees actually gave out. Marissa. If he does it publicly, even better. No one will question why I'm leaving. I read them 3 times. My brain refused to process it. I wasn't losing my marriage because she was overwhelmed or stressed or emotional. She had been engineering an exit, planning a meltdown, setting me up, trying to provoke me into being the unstable husband so she could leave without consequences. The dinner table blow-up wasn't spontaneous. It wasn't emotional. It wasn't even sincere. It was a strategy. Danny, how long have you known about this? I asked quietly. Her face crumpled. I didn't. Not until last night. Lena sent it to me out of nowhere. She said she didn't want to be part of it anymore. I ran a hand over my face. Everything suddenly made sense. The random fights, the coldness, the way she'd been needling me for months, the push to pick sides between her and my family, the comment about wanting a divorce in public. She had been trying to make me snap so she could walk away clean. She was using me, I said. My voice didn't even sound like mine. Danny sat next to me. She wasn't just using you. She was trying to screw with all of us. I couldn't speak for a minute. Then Danny added, "There's more." My heart dropped. "What do you mean more?" She swallowed. "Lena said this whole thing started because of something Marissa did. Something she's been hiding from you for months." I stared at her. "What did she do?" Danny took a breath like she was bracing for impact. "She didn't tell me the details. Just said you need to look at the phone bill. The shared one. Specifically the numbers she's been texting late at night." I felt the world tilt. "Danny, are you telling me what I think you're telling me?" She didn't answer. She didn't need to, because suddenly everything pointed in the same direction. And I realized the betrayal wasn't just emotional. It was something else. Something bigger. Something I wasn't prepared for. I sat in my truck outside Danny's apartment for a long time, just staring at the steering wheel while the world slowly rearranged itself around me. I wasn't just dealing with a marriage falling apart anymore. I was dealing with a setup, a calculated plan, months of manipulation, intentional provocation, and very likely cheating. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I went cold, like my brain switched into a different operating mode. By the time I drove home, the shock had burned off and something sharper settled in its place. Clarity. A kind of steady, controlled anger that felt more like survival instinct than emotion. When I walked through the door, Marissa was on the couch, scrolling her phone like she hadn't spent the past week detonating our lives. She glanced up. "Where were you? You didn't answer my texts." "I was with Danny." That got her attention. "Why?" I didn't answer. Instead, I walked straight to my desk drawer, pulled out the binder with our shared accounts, and flipped to the cell phone bill. My hands didn't shake. I didn't hesitate. Call logs, text logs, timestamps. There it was. A number I didn't recognize. Repeatedly. Daily texts for the last 3 months. Hours-long calls on nights she told me she was working late. Voicemails I never heard. And the latest one? A 42-minute call the night before she demanded a divorce at my parents' table. All from the same number. I memorized the area code greedily. Not far. Close enough to meet easily. I turned to her. "Who's this?" I asked, holding up the bill. Her face drained so fast I almost heard the blood leaving. "Evan, what are you?" "Don't lie," I said. My voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. Her lips parted. Closed. Opened again. She looked like she was choking on the truth. Then she tried it anyway. "It's just someone from work. You're being paranoid." I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was pathetic. "Someone from work you talked to for 42 minutes last Sunday night? Someone you texted more than me this entire month?" She swallowed hard. I stepped closer, keeping my voice low, controlled. "Danny showed me the messages. The group chat. The ones where you said you wanted to push me until I broke so you could leave first. So you wouldn't look like the villain." Her eyes widened. She hadn't expected that. "And now," I said, tapping the phone bill, "I'm guessing this number has something to do with why you wanted out so badly." That's when the tears started. Not the real kind. The practiced ones, the ones she used when she wanted to feed me a story I'd swallow without chewing. "Evan, please. You don't understand." "You're right," I said. "But I'm going to." That's when the revenge planning began. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse her of cheating. I didn't demand answers. I just left the room, sat at the kitchen counter, opened my laptop, and started gathering every piece of documentation I'd need. The phone bill of screenshots of the group chat, the timestamp messages, the records of her late-night calls, the log of her work late nights, everything that proved her intent and her betrayal. I created a folder on my desktop titled Marissa, Full Record. Then another titled Divorce Strategy, Updated. Within an hour, I had everything sorted into categories: manipulation, planning, secret communications, timeline inconsistencies. If she wanted to fight, she was going to walk into a legal buzzsaw. At one point, she came into the room, wiping tears, voice small. "Evan, can we please talk?" "No," I said. "We'll talk when you tell me the truth." She hesitated. Then she said something that confirmed everything. "You don't understand what I was trying to fix." Fix. That word stuck in my head like a nail. Fix what? Fix who? Fix why? She wasn't trying to save our marriage. She was trying to fix a problem she created. And I was about to uncover exactly what that was. I thought the cheating was the twist. I thought the setup was the twist. I thought the push him until he breaks so I look innocent scheme was the twist. I was wrong. What came next was something I never saw coming. 2 days after I organized every shred of evidence, I decided I needed to know exactly who that mystery number belonged to. Not just a name. I needed the whole picture. So during my lunch break, I drove to Greeley. I didn't tell anyone. Not Danny. Not my parents. Not even my attorney. I needed answers from the source. I went to the address tied to the number using a reverse lookup site. It led me to a beige townhouse complex that looked like every other suburban development. Neatly trimmed bushes, identical mailboxes, quiet driveways. I walked up to the unit. Unit 12B. Knocked. For a moment, nothing. Then the door opened, and my stomach flipped so violently I actually stepped backward. Standing there, staring at me with a face just as shocked as mine, was Trey Walker, my coworker, my friend, a guy I'd known for 8 years, a guy I'd played softball with, gotten beers with, invited to my own goddamn wedding. He froze. I froze. The universe froze. "Evan," he said quietly. "Yeah," I said. "Didn't expect to see me, did you?" He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. I pushed past him into the living room. I didn't care if it was rude. I was past polite, past patience, past everything. "Tell me the truth," I said. "Right now." "How long?" Trey rubbed his hands over his face. "Man, you shouldn't be here." "That's not an answer." He paced once, twice. Then he stopped. "About 4 months. For months. For months of lies. For months of calling me bro while sleeping with my wife." I didn't say a word. I didn't rant or scream. I just stared at him until he finally started talking. Like he couldn't stand the weight of his own silence. "It wasn't supposed to happen," he said. "She and we just talked at first." She vented. "You know how stressed she's been." I laughed. Actually laughed. "Yeah," I said. "Because she created the stress." He winced. Then he said the sentence that changed everything. "She told me you two were separating already." "Separating? Separating?" I repeated. "Really?" He nodded slowly. "She said you'd been sleeping in separate rooms. Said the marriage was basically over. Said she just needed time to figure out how to tell your family." That was the first shock. The second came fast after. "She also said she was scared of you getting angry," Trey said. "Said you had a temper. Told me not to make things worse for her." I felt something icy settle in my chest. Temper. She told him I had a temper. She was laying foundation, preparing witnesses, setting the stage. My cheating wife had been telling my coworker, her affair partner, that I was the unstable one, the unpredictable one, the dangerous one. I finally understood the real plan. She wanted to leave. She wanted to be with Trey. But she didn't want to look like the marriage breaker. And the way she did that was by painting me as unstable, checked out, depressed, emotionally distant, potentially angry. She didn't just want to leave clean. She wanted to leave as the victim. But here's the part that sent a full-body chill through me. I asked Trey, "When did she start talking to you?" He hesitated. Hard. 3 months before she told me you two were having problems, he said. 3 months before, I repeated. So around May? He nodded. That's when my world tilted for the second time. In May, my dad had surgery. My mom was overwhelmed. I was working 60-hour weeks. I wasn't home much. Marissa had been alone. Not lonely. Not neglected. Untethered. Free. Testing boundaries. Because she hadn't just cheated. She had built a months-long narrative. Between my parents, my sister, my coworkers, her family. Portraying me as the problem so she could slide out into Trey's life without a scratch on her reputation. She didn't just betray me. She rewrote reality to justify it. And none of this was the twist. Trey looked at me with this broken guilt in his eyes and said, Evan, that number you saw on the bill? That wasn't my number the last couple weeks. I stared at him. What do you mean? She started pulling away from me too, he said, acting weird, secretive, like someone else was in the picture. Someone else. There wasn't one affair partner. There were two. I drove home from Greeley with my hands locked around the steering wheel so tight my fingers went numb. Two affair partners. Two narratives. Two parallel versions of reality she'd been feeding people like a script she rehearsed. By the time I got home, something inside me had gone entirely silent. Not empty, focused. Like my brain knew that the only way to survive this was to finally see her for who she really was. She was in the kitchen when I walked in, leaning against the counter like she'd been practicing her innocent face in the reflection of the microwave. Evan, she started. I think we need to. No, I said. You need to tell me the truth. All of it. Right now. Her jaw tightened. About what? About Trey. Her lip trembled. Just slightly. Evan. And the other guy. That's when her whole body froze. Just froze. Not fear. Not shame. Not guilt. She froze like a thief who realizes the security camera just turned directly toward them. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again, then gave up pretending. You weren't supposed to find out like this. I swear my blood turned to ice. Like this, I repeated. There was a correct way for me to find out you were cheating on me with multiple people? She sighed, like I was inconveniencing her. Then she walked past me, straight to the dining table, and sat down with this posture that wasn't apologetic or nervous. It was composed, calm, calculated. Evan, she said quietly, you need to understand something, and you won't like it, but you need to hear it. I didn't sit. I didn't speak. I just stared. She finally looked me in the eye, and the softness, the panic, the tears she'd been throwing around for weeks, gone. Her voice was steady, almost professional. You were holding me back. For a second I thought I misheard her. Holding you back? I said. Yes, she said with this terrifying calm. You, your family, your routines, this life. It wasn't enough for me. I felt the floor tilt. And instead of leaving like a normal person, I said, you cheated. She didn't flinch. I didn't cheat because I loved them, she said. I cheated because I needed options. A backup plan. Options. Backup plan. She talked about infidelity like it was insurance coverage. She continued, voice smooth now, like she'd slipped fully into her real skin. You're stable, Evan. Predictable. Safe. People like you don't leave. You stay. You forgive. You explain things away. I thought I had more time to figure out which direction I wanted to go. Which direction? I repeated. You mean which man to pick? She didn't deny it. And the divorce? I asked. The meltdown at my parents' table? She leaned back, exhaling like she was bored with the conversation already. I knew I couldn't be the one to end it. Why? Her eyes flashed sharp, cold, calculating. Because people trust you, she said. Your family, your friends, your coworkers. Everyone thinks Evan Harris is the golden boy who does everything right. If I left you, I'd be the villain. The selfish wife who walked away from the perfect husband. My stomach turned. So, she said, shrugging lightly, I needed you to do it. I stared at her. You tried to provoke me, I said. Yes. So you could leave clean. Yes. So you could protect your reputation. Yes. And so you wouldn't have to tell people you were cheating. Silence. That was the answer. She lifted her chin just slightly. People don't question a woman who leaves because her husband is unstable, she said. They question a woman who leaves because she's bored. Bored. My marriage was destroyed because she was bored. Then she said the sentence that burned itself into my skull forever. You were never enough on your own. I needed more. And I didn't want to feel like the bad guy for wanting it. There it was. The cold, horrifying reason. Not love. Not fear. Not confusion. Self-preservation. Ego. Image. She was willing to destroy me. My reputation, my family, my sanity, so she could walk away without looking like the villain. And at that moment, for the first time since everything began, I knew exactly how I'd take her down. When someone finally shows you who they are, you stop arguing with the mask. After her confession, the cold, almost bored way she admitted everything, I didn't feel heartbreak, or rage, or betrayal. I felt purpose. Revenge didn't come from emotion, came from clarity. She laid out her motive. She laid out her strategy. She admitted she had contingencies. Men she lined up like spare parts. She thought I'd keep trying to fix things. Thought I'd be too loyal, too slow, too soft to do anything real. She had no idea the switch inside me had already flipped weeks ago. Is that all? I asked when she finished her speech. She blinked. What? You're done, right? You told me the truth. She nodded, wary now. Good, I said, because I'm done too. I walked to the bedroom, grabbed the folder labeled Marissa, full record, and set it on the dining table between us. She stared at it like it was a bomb. What is that? Everything, I said. Every message, every call log, every screenshot, your group chats, your timelines, your backup plans, your affair partners, all categorized, clean, organized. Her face twisted. You went through my private. You tried to destroy my reputation. I said. I just took notes. Her breathing picked up. Panic rising. Evan, listen. We can still. No, I said. We can't. I slid the folder into my backpack. Tomorrow morning, all of this goes to my lawyer. She shook her head violently. Evan, please don't ruin my life. I wasn't thinking straight. I made mistakes. You made choices, I said. Deliberately, repeatedly, strategically. I walked to the door. And now I'm making mine. The next 48 hours moved like a machine. My lawyer practically sprinted to file a motion for marital misconduct impacting settlement. Colorado's a no-fault state, but evidence of deception, manipulation, and infidelity? Judges aren't blind. Courts aren't stupid. And because I had her admitting intent, trying to provoke emotional instability to manipulate divorce outcomes, that became the backbone of everything. Her attorney tried calling me. I didn't answer. Her affair partner Trey texted me twice. I blocked him. The other guy, who turned out to be her gym trainer, emailed me some half-assed apology. Deleted. By the time mediation rolled around, she looked like a ghost. Hair unwashed, eyes hollow, hands shaking every time she lifted her water bottle. Her lawyer whispered frantically to her for 10 minutes straight while mine sat beside me flipping through the folder like it was a menu. The mediator read everything. Every message. Every plan. Every lie. Then he looked at her and said, in the most professional voice I've ever heard, "This is some of the clearest intentional manipulation I've seen in family court." She started crying. Hard. Real tears this time. Her lawyer finally spoke. We'd like to propose a revised settlement. Revised was putting it lightly. She dropped her claim for a larger share of equity. She dropped the spousal support threat. She dropped the accusations of abandonment. She agreed to a clean 50-50th split. She even agreed to cover half of my legal fees, because she knew the alternative was worse. Way worse. I didn't have to ruin her reputation. She ruined her own. I just made sure the right people saw the truth. The divorce finalized shockingly fast after that. My parents were relieved. Danny was proud. My co-workers quietly cut Trey out of everything. The gym trainer quit before anyone had to fire him. Marissa moved 2 hours south with her sister. Haven't seen her since. But the last email she ever sent me, right before I blocked her completely, read, "You made me look like a monster." I didn't reply. She wasn't a monster because of what I exposed. She was a monster because of what she did. A month after everything was done, I sat at Sunday dinner with my parents again, just laughing at my dad's stupid dad jokes, eating too much roast chicken, breathing normally for the first time in years. And I realized something: revenge wasn't the folder. It wasn't the legal win. Revenge was peace. Revenge was getting my life back. Revenge was knowing she tried to break me, and failed. As I left my parents' house that night, my dad yelled after me, "Hey son, bring someone nice next time." I smiled. "Working on it."